It's like having your soul ripped out of you.
Welcome, everyone, to Inside the Cockpit. I'm your host, Meg Beeler. I'm also the Chief Transportation Correspondent here at Queen City News. Thanks for joining us here on Queen City News Plus. Now, those of you who know me know I'm passionate about aviation. I've been a pilot for 40 years and counting. Have flown over 30 different makes and models of aircraft. It is my passion. And today we have a special guest who shares that passion. In fact, aviation is his life. Now, imagine what it would be like if you devoted all of your adult life to aviation, flying passengers, tens of thousands of them, perhaps millions of them, getting them safely to their destination. As an airline pilot, former military pilot, flying B-52 bombers. And imagine knowing that the minute you turn 65, you can no longer fly for an airline anymore. You just can't. Mandatory retirement with the FAA. So you're giving up a lifestyle, a passion, something you've done for so many years and trained so hard for. What would that be like? So Captain Randy McPeak joins us today. And Randy, thank you for joining us so much. It's just so good to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. This is a thrill for me.
Well, it's a thrill for us. And wait till you hear all that he has done. So you have flown so many different airplanes. The B-52, a Trainer T-38, the Boeing 727, 757, 767, the Airbuses, 320, 319, 321, the MD-80, the F-100, and I'm sure many more. So you have flown for the airlines for 33 years? Is that right? Before you were forced to retire? Has logged 25,000 hours of flight time, correct?
That's pretty close. I quit taking...
You quit logging?
Quit logging after a while. It becomes a moot point. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're still flying, and the adventures are amazing, what this man is doing right now. So 6 years ago, when you turned 65, you were forced to retire. And we're going to talk about how that felt. But let's go back in time. What triggered your love for aviation? How old were you? Were you a child, a young adult? How did that happen?
My father had a wanderlust, and he was a lineman for the county. So all of our vacations were driving. And one of the driving vacations went through Colorado and past the Air Force Academy. And I went, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I took my very first plane ride at 16, and that was even cooler. So that triggered me. I had to figure out some way to get into the air, and the Air Force Academy was the way to do it.
Wow, that's fabulous. All right, so want to talk about favorite airplanes, favorite experiences, what it's like being an airline pilot, but let's just talk about what brought you here today and what led you here. So at 65, the FAA, I guess, decides you're too old to be an airline pilot.
Congress, actually.
It was Congress.
Yes, they made it a law.
How do you feel about that?
Can we get term limits on them?
Yeah.
Yes. No, it's really disheartening. It's because you've lived your whole life, and it's sort of like if somebody came and took away your driver's license and they said, no, you can't do this anymore. Most of the time, I would say it's way too early. They should extend it. People are living longer, they're cognizant, their skills are such that 65 is too young for some.
For some.
Not everybody. So
right.
But I think they should have in place a cognitive test. I mean, we take flying tests every year, every 6 months.
Right.
So yes, it's like having your soul ripped out of you to be forced to retire from a job that you love.
And just to clarify this for folks that don't know, the FAA mandates this for airline pilots, Part 121 pilots. So other commercial pilots, you can fly as long as you want, provided you pass your medical. So they have to take a medical. We have to take a medical every 6 months, every year, just depending on the operation you're in. But for an airline pilot, like Captain McPeak here, the second, you can't even turn 65. You got to do your last flight before you turn 65.
True.
And that's it. But there's other commercial flying that you can do. So let's talk about, actually, years ago, the mandatory retirement age was 60.
It was.
Right. And then they changed that to 65. Now there are rumblings that maybe it will be changed to 67. Do you think 67 is good or they should go to 70?
Well, I'm 71, so I would have preferred to fly, up to now. Although I can say that at 71, my reflexes probably aren't as good as they used to be. So 67 is a start, but I can see them pushing it to 70 at some point.
Okay. So what do the unions say about this? What do the majority of folks think this is a good idea or not? And now let's clarify too that, like you said, people age differently.
True.
There's some 50-year-olds who are in better shape than 30-year-olds, or some 70-year-olds in better shape than 50-year-olds, right? We age differently. But from what I understand, generally speaking, when folks get into their 60s, they tend to have more medical issues. Doesn't mean you are going to or you're going to, but typically the older people get, they have some issues. So maybe that would prevent a pilot from keeping their medical certificates. Every 6 months, they have to go get a medical with their aviation medical examiner. How do you find that's true? I know you're healthy, thank God, but from the people you know.
Yes, I've seen lots of different medical issues with friends. And, as you age, yes, your body starts giving things up. My FAA doctor says I'm going to live to be 100. I'm not sure I want to. But, yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones that have no real issues. So I still get a Class 1 physical every 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And you're able to pass it easily. So there are, what do the unions say?
The unions, I have to be careful here because a lot of my friends are I wasn't much of a union guy per se. They were all for keeping it so that the younger guys could move up or whatever until they got to the age 65. And then the bills started coming to try and get it pushed. And they fought the battle back and forth. But in general terms, the union is for mandatory retirement. 65, not moving it to 67 because they want to take their retirements and go if they have a retirement. Most airlines don't anymore, just 401ks.
Right. So let's talk about flying internationally. So what I have been told about this is that internationally, ICAO, you have to retire at 65. Is that correct?
Not all countries.
Not all countries.
Some countries have 67.
Some have 67.
Yes.
Okay.
But in general terms, yeah, there's 65 also.
So if we were to move it to 67, maybe guys and gals like you who fly the big jets and have all this experience and fly internationally, you couldn't do it anymore. You would have to fly domestically. We might have to put you in a regional jet and cut your pay. How would you feel about that?
Just being in the air is what it's all about. At one point in my life, I said, they don't have to pay me. Just give me an airplane. Some people absolutely love it. Some people consider it a job. I'm one of those that love it.
So what do you love about it?
The view, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
When you fly above thunderstorms at night and you see the lightning crackling around, and we just get to see the world from a different point of view, and it is just amazing.
All right. You've flown so many different planes, the B-52. And I called you the other day because I consult you, as you know, when it comes to Operation Midnight Hammer with the B-2s. And what's it like to be a bomber pilot? And they had a 37-hour round-trip flight. Were you ever on a long flight like that? What's it like flying a bomber?
Well, the longest I was ever on was probably 12 and a half hours.
It's a long time.
It is, yeah. Especially when you don't really have crew rest facilities on these airplanes. So you're in the seat.
So, and forgive me, folks, but, we're adults here. Do you have like a relief tube to... Well, I mean, we pilots have to deal with this.
Well, that's...
Or could you get up and was there a toilet?
I got to figure out how to word this properly without... There was a standing pee pot.
Oh, okay. So you could get up and stretch your legs at least.
At least. It's the only place on the B-52 where you could stand upright. It was at the bottom of this ladder going up to the cockpit, and
Huh.
then they had a honey pot under one of the seats
Oh, okay.
also.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but you no bed or cot to sleep. I think did
No.
you tell me you sleep in the aisle?
There was an aisle. If you had extra pilots along, you could lay down on the cold steel floor. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. How do you stay awake? And so how do you think these pilots, the B-2 pilots, stayed awake?
Well, I think I told you they probably slept in the seat, but
Yeah.
I have since found out that there was a third pilot.
Oh, there was a third pilot.
Yes.
Okay.
So they could transfer out. I don't know
Okay.
the arrangements they have for sleeping, whether it's on the floor or they have a cot. I do not know the airplane, but it's still a long time to be in the airplane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we will be right back with Captain Randy McPeak. Stay with us. All right, we're back on Inside the Cockpit with Captain Randy McPeak talking about all the airplanes he's flown, particularly the B-52. All right, Captain, so what's it like? That's a beast.
Yeah, it's a lumbering beast. It weighed up to 488,000 pounds. You could carry 300,000 pounds of fuel. Back when I flew it, it was a G model, which meant there's none of those flying nowadays. But they were built about the same time I was born, 56, 57, 58. And they had a water injection system that would pump deionized water into the exhaust to give you more thrust. Because even though it had 8 engines, they didn't produce a lot of thrust. So it was a lumbering beast to get off the ground. That's why the runways were so long.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there in the era of the Cold War. So we sat nuclear alert. We had nuclear bombs on our airplane. I guess I can say that now. But a typical mission, you'd take off, you'd meet up with the tanker, you'd practice refueling, you'd do a celestial navigation, where they're shooting the stars or the sun or the moon to figure out where we are.
Crazy.
And
no GPS back in the day?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
We're so spoiled. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah.
It's no. And then we'd go low level, and we would fly low levels at 400 feet usually, except when we go to red flag, then we were allowed to go down to 200 feet.
Good grief. A lot of birds down there. Did you have bird strikes?
All the time.
There's a lot of birds that low. Really?
Yeah. And we'd do it through the mountains. And we'd do it.
That's got to be bumpy.
It is. Yeah, we had the early age of terrain following. It wasn't radar. It was just a little digital trace that we could fly on as long as we were VFR. And so we could fly down at 400 feet through the mountains.
That's crazy.
That was the fun part of a B-52 was the low levels and the refuelings. Everything else was just boring, so to say.
So it's a long time to be in a plane. What's the longest you think anyone's ever flown nonstop in a plane like that?
Well, 48 hours is pretty close. And he lives right here in the Charlotte area, by the way.
So you have a pilot friend who flew 48 hours in a bomber?
Yep. Yeah.
Don't you get leg cramps?
Oh, yeah. I can imagine how tough that would be. So they're in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow, that's crazy. Let's talk about your airline career. So a lot of people are afraid to fly now. You know, we've had a lot of mishaps this year, 2025, with the Potomac midair crash. And we had the RJ that flipped over in Toronto and just a lot of scary type things. And a lot of people think, oh, I don't think it's safe to fly. First of all, you're still flying.
Mm-hmm.
Is it safe to fly?
Absolutely. It's safer than driving to work, guaranteed. For the last 9 years of my airline career, I was an instructor evaluator with the airline, a check airman. And I know the training that our pilots get, and they're top notch. I put them up against any pilots in the world. The American aviation system is very safe, very secure, and yeah, great pilots out there.
So what do you tell people who say, well, what's with all the mishaps? It seems like there have been a lot this year. Is it just because we're reporting on it more?
Well, that is actually part of it because of the instantaneous news from around the world.
Yeah.
Everybody hears about it. Before they didn't. They were still happening.
Sure.
But in general terms, the millions of flights that go on, there's going to be something, whether mechanical or some pilot screws up, which can happen. The weather, there's all kinds of things going against you. But, on any given day, just in Charlotte, there's hundreds of automobile accidents and people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's safe. And my daughter's a fearful flyer. You got to hold her hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
So,
What do they think? What do your kids, what does your family think about you and this incredible flying career?
they wanted nothing to do with the military. I was gone a lot. That's the one drawback of being a pilot and an airline pilot is you're gone a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think they're proud of me. I think they're proud of my accomplishments, and they certainly like some of the benefits.
I'm sure.
My youngest daughter, when she turned 12, we started doing father-daughter trips around the world. So she's been to, I don't know, a dozen or more countries.
Exciting.
And, so they love the travel.
So you flew with U.S. Air, which
Mhm.
became U.S. Airways, which morphed into American Airlines. And now, because you can't fly for an airline, you can fly as a charter pilot and do other commercial operations. What do you do now? Because one time I tried to text you and you were in Antarctica. It's like, what?
And I'll be in Greenland before the end of the week.
And it's going to be in Greenland this
But,
week. What are you doing?
I have a couple different jobs that kind of just fell into my lap. If anybody were to examine my life and career, they would say I'm just a very lucky individual. Things just happen right for me. So after I retired, I got a call one day that said, "Hey, can you leave for the Czech Republic tomorrow?" And I went, "Sure, I'm retired. I can do whatever I want." But they wanted me to pick up an Airbus and bring it back to Aguadilla, Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So, hey, that sounds like fun. I went to Iceland. I went to and that started, the last 6 years of moving airplanes around.
Wow.
It's taken me all over the world: New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, Marshall Islands, Samoa.
Wow.
All over Europe. I mean, I've flown to more interesting places since I retired than I got to do with the airlines.
With the airlines. So, favorite place?
Still remains Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, I love Italy. It's a beautiful place.
Favorite airplane?
Ooh, the T-38.
Oh, yeah. Tell everybody about the T-38. So that's a little trainer.
It is a trainer, and it's been around since the 60s. They've updated it, but it is supersonic, 720 degrees of roll per second.
Wow.
Up to 39,000 feet. I don't know if the new engines will take it higher, but
Gosh.
but we would fly four-ship formations.
How many G's do you pull in that?
The plane was rated to 7.33 Gs.
Okay.
We would fly formation in 6 Gs.
Okay. How does that feel?
We wear a G suit most of the time.
Otherwise, you have to be like,
yeah, you're sitting there grabbing your stomach and flying and whatever. Yeah, there have been times when you've grayed out or almost blacked out.
yeah.
What Top Gun likes to call what they call it, G-lock. I've never heard that before, but it was in Top Gun.
So the fighters of today,
Mm-hmm.
can they pull 9 Gs or more?
Yes. Part of the reason they can is they angle the seats back so that when you're pulling the Gs, it's not going straight down your body to your feet, which is what causes you to pass out.
Sure.
So it's more into your body than it is. But even still, it takes a G suit, and it's a struggle.
All right, we're going to take another break, and we'll be
Okay.
right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Cockpit with Captain Randy McPeak. All right, Captain, scariest situation you've ever been in that you can remember?
remember I said I was lucky?
Yes.
I really haven't had very much in the way of scary things. I had a student one time that actually stalled the T-38 about 10 feet above the runway.
Oh my gosh.
And
Did you
yeah,
hit the
we hit the
runway?
runway hard. We caught a wingtip.
Mm. It's your fault. You're the instructor. Shouldn't have let that happen, Captain.
That was actually pointed out to me very vocally during the accident review board. Yes.
But that scared you probably.
It's the only time I've ever yelled at a student.
Yeah.
I took the airplane, I lit the afterburners, I kicked the rudder, everything. We still hit the ground.
Yeah.
And it hurt. Yeah.
So no emergencies in the air? Do you ever lose an engine?
Yeah, but those aren't scary.
I know, that's no big deal because you train for it all the time.
We train for all that stuff all the time.
Okay.
We've had medical emergencies. We've had, different things. Weather. Well, that's probably a scary thought. I got into a thunderstorm one time in a T-38.
Oh, my gosh.
And we didn't have weather radar, so Memphis Center was vectoring us around, and they vectored us right into the center of the thunderstorm.
Oh, my God. But I'm sure it was dark, Captain. Couldn't you tell it was dark?
It was during the day, but
it's dark in the storm.
Not that dark.
Okay.
But
what'd that feel like?
We were getting bounced around. We got hit by lightning, and then due to pitot tube icing and loss of airspeed, we ended up stalling the airplane at about 36,000 feet.
Oh, my gosh.
And lost 20,000 feet recovery.
It took you that long to recover?
We had zero airspeed when the nose fell through the horizon. So it took a while to get the thing flying again. We were actually talking about bailing out.
Wow.
I don't want to say that, the military are cool, calm, and collected, but we seemed to be during that incident. We were talking, and we managed to get everything back and keep flying.
Okay. Let me ask you, we have just two last questions, and then we're going to wrap things up. DEI. So, when we had the Potomac crash, which was so sad, the midair over the Potomac with the CRJ and a military helicopter, it was said that, well, maybe a DEI hire was responsible for that. A lot of controversy about DEI. Do you feel that airline pilots, that some are in that position because of color or gender who shouldn't be? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. It's not a thing that I approve of. I have always believed in merit-based. I don't care, male, female, color, purple, green, I don't know. As long as they can do the job properly, hire them. But if you're hiring them for other reasons to fill quotas, that's not right. That puts the general population in danger. And the airplane doesn't care. Like I say, you fly the airplane the way it's supposed to be. I don't care what you look like. Mm-hmm. But if you got the job and they're keeping you in because of whatever, when they would release other people who are more qualified, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Message for aspiring pilots. Oh, I'd sure like to do that, but I don't know if I'm smart enough or if I have enough money, or maybe I'd get scared. Maybe I don't have the stomach for it. What do you tell them for aspiring pilots?
Go for it. It's funny, I didn't know you were going to ask that question at all, but on my way here, an aspiring pilot by the name of Waylon was talking to me, and he's got his first interview with PSA, a commuter, and we have been talking for quite a while. I encourage young people to get into aviation every chance I get. Years ago, I was a liaison officer for the Air Force Academy, an admissions officer. And one of the young people that I helped, he didn't get in initially. I got him a scholarship into a prep school. And then he managed to graduate from the academy, and he is now retiring after 25 years in the Air Force. And I just made a few contacts, and he will be starting with American Airlines here shortly. So I have loved working with young people, and I encourage them all the time to go seek the clouds
Seek the clouds. I love it. How long are you going to fly?
That's a good question. The moving the airplanes part has slowed down considerably. I'm still teaching flight simulators, 767, 757, and I'm starting to reach that age where I'm getting lazy and fat and whatever. So
Never.
and
No.
I still, my friends that own little airplanes, I love going up with them and all that. So I don't know when I will give it up. I haven't reached, I'm at the 49-year point. You got to have 50 years for the Wright brothers.
Oh, yeah, the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm close. Will I keep it up for another year just to get the award? Yeah, probably. No.
Last message for everybody that's watching.
This is a beautiful, big world out there. So get out and see it. And the best way to do it is in an airplane. Whether you're just flying around here in a little airplane, the sights are unbelievable, or go to another country. I've been in 67 so far. So, yeah.
Captain McPeak, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Just a pleasure. Fly safe. All right, that's it for this edition of Inside the Cockpit. I'm May K. Beeler with Queen City News Plus. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.